Good morning. This is March the 27th, Thursday, 2024, and we are in BBIS second semester English class, where yesterday we were reading the plot. And we also talked about exposition. We also talked about rising action. We talked about crisis or climax. We talked about conflict. We talked about falling action. We talked about denouement and many more. I'll spend few minutes in this class where I will take you through the second section, 1962. What I have done while reading it for the first time, at the right hand margin of every paragraph, I have summarized the main idea of the paragraph. This is how I read. When I read it second time, I wrote notes this side. So I will quickly take you through these notes so that you have a good idea about what's in the story. So first paragraph, he shares his crazy idea with his father. In the evening, in the television room, he waits for the advertising break when his father is cool, and then he shares because his father is very strict and he believes in living a respectable life, right? What is this crazy idea? He says, "Daddy, do you remember my crazy idea I had at Stanford?" To break the ice and to initiate the conversation. This crazy idea was, he tells, at Stanford, while doing MBA, there was a seminar on the subject of entrepreneurship. And his professor in the subject of entrepreneurship said, "Phil, you write a research paper on entrepreneurship where you come up with a genuine idea to become a businessman." So because Phil was interested in shoes, he was a runner, so he was always aware about shoes. So he decided that he would write a paper about shoes. And in this paper, he made an argument. Every research paper has an argument. What was the argument that is highlighted there? You can see, "The idea interested me, then inspired me, then captivated me. It seemed so obvious, so simple, so potential." So argument was, Japanese running shoes might do the same thing. Means Adidas was the major company, shoe company in America. And he thought that Japanese shoes can give a challenge to this existing Adidas company. So I will start a business by importing Japanese shoes. And then he made a presentation in the class. And what happened? Nobody paid attention to his presentation. His classmates didn't pay attention. Nobody asked any question. But the teacher recognized his idea. And he gave him grade A. He got grade A in entrepreneurship. Now, then he says that since then I never stopped thinking about my crazy idea of going to Japan, finding a shoe company, pitching them with my crazy idea. Here also I see often students go to Halt's Prize and then they sometimes go to Bombay. They pitch their business ideas in international conference. Sometimes they go to Thailand and they pitch their ideas in international conference. They have entrepreneurship conference here where they share their ideas. And then he says that I wanted to leave a mark on the world. I wanted to go around the world. I wanted to experience Tao by going to China. I wanted to experience Jnana by going to India. I wanted to experience Dharma by learning Buddhism in Nepal. I wanted to understand humankind. I wanted to feel the presence of God, he says. Then he says, I needed parents' support. Though I had managed $15,000 with me, but I needed some money from my parents also, right? And then he says, I decided to make a side trip to Japan also, where I would launch my company. Then he says, I managed 15,000. How? By working in the summer vacation at the university. By selling my old car, I managed 15,000 for my world tour. Look, the point to understand is he's going on a world tour and he is not depending on his parents. He says, I manage my money. How old is he? 24. I want to see the world. My crazy idea, Japanese running shoes. Then from paragraph 19 in this section, if you see carefully, he starts writing about his father. In many paragraphs, he comments on his father. He makes very intimate commentary on his father, right? Where he shows his father's habits, character, right? His father's background. He says his father is a publisher of journal, has a lot of money. Then in paragraph 20, he talks about 1960s time in the world. The World War had just ended. Cold War was going on, right? And then he comments about how the world was at that time. Then he says that nobody had made a global travel by aeroplane in his area. Most of the Americans had not traveled even 100 miles, flying in an aeroplane. And for him, flying in an aeroplane to Japan was something very crazy, right? Something nobody had done. So he decides to go around the world, right? And he says that maybe my father will think this is an impractical idea, traveling to Japan, because Japanese people were attacked by America in 1945, atomic bombs. It was just 20 years before. So it was fresh in their mind. So going to Japan was risky. Then again in paragraph 22, he comments about his father. I want to go inside. In paragraph 23, he talks about father's club. Sometimes his father would get drunk. He would make a call. He would say, come and pick me up in the vehicle. He will go there and he will bring father home. Paragraph 24 again talks about father. 25, 26 about father. And then in paragraph 26, father gives him permission to go around the world on a world trip. And he also gives his blessings. Not only that, his father also gives him some money. Again, paragraph 28, father. Then paragraph 30, he talks about his grandmother, who was very much scared with the idea of going to Japan. She says, you know, Japs, they will take your eyeballs out. In World War, Japanese soldiers were very notorious. If they caught Americans, what they did? They took pliers, and with the pliers, they will take eyeballs of an alive soldier. This was what they did. They will take it out with a plier. So he said, if Japs get you, they will take your eyeballs out. Aren't you scared? Right? So his mother's mother is scared of Japanese people because of the war scenario. Then he talks about how Gabriel Hatter, the famous reporter, radio reporter in 1940s, 50s, reported about World War II. And then how American public hated Japan, right? So these are his earliest memories with his grandparents. This is a memoir. This is a memoir, and we have been saying that a memoir talks about certain memories of the people with some people. So here in these paragraphs, he shares his memory with his grandma and father. Then he says, Grandma, I'll bring a kimono for you. Be happy, right? Then he says, okay, twin sisters, they said nothing. Mother said nothing. He prepares for the trip in 1 week, right? Then he calls his friend, Carter, his classmate, to go with him. Then he makes a list of places they want to see during their trip, right? Carter likes the plan. Okay. Then they prepare for the trip. On September 7, 1962, they leave home for the world tour. Remember this date in the exam, you might be asked a multiple choice question. On September 7, 1962, they leave home for the world tour. They buy 2 tickets paying $80 for Honolulu, Hawaii. in America. Honolulu, Hawaii is an island, and Honolulu is a very famous tourist spot. And they arrive at Oahu Airport in Honolulu, right? They are welcomed by a line of beautiful girls. They arrived at Waikiki Beach. They want to enjoy the life, right? They are just 24, and they surf in the ocean first. They changed their plan. They decided to stay in Honolulu for some time. So they wanted to get a job to make money to pay for the stay. And they learn surfing. They leave their hotel and they lease an apartment. Life is sweet for them. But what they do, they have a job of selling books. And Phil says, I could not sell books. Nobody bought my books. Because he says, maybe my face was not appealing. Maybe I was a shy boy. And he says, I was frustrated because I couldn't make money selling books. So he wanted to try something else. He found another job. At Honolulu, he finds another job where he sells securities, share. He became a security salesman, and then he attended the interview for the job. Then he was hired, right? And he was able to schedule meetings and close a few sales of securities. He could sell them. He earned good money by selling securities. He earned good money. By selling books, he could earn no money. But by selling securities, he earned good money. Look, he is saving money for the world tour. What do you learn? If you have desires, ambitions, don't press your parents. Work and earn your own money. Look, he is 24. He has to go around the world and he is working to collect money. He has this feeling, seize the day, enjoy the day, right? And carpe diem means enjoy what you have, what your life, enjoy, right? Then there is Cold War days. America and Russia are not fighting but ready for fighting. And there are news that there may be atomic bombs falling anywhere. They might die anytime. So they think, let's enjoy before we die. Crisis passes. Hawaiian autumn follows. It's time to leave Honolulu. Time to get back to the plan, going to Japan. Carter says, no, I can't go with you because I have met a beautiful girl. I'm in love with her. I can't leave her, he says. Game is over. He says, okay, if you can't leave the girl, I'll leave you. Game is over. Go home, get a normal job, be a normal person. No, I won't do that, he says. No, how can I go home? I have decided I'll leave a mark on the world. I will die but not go home. Look his promise. I will achieve something. He says, I'll achieve something. No, don't go home. Keep going. Don't stop. Then he tells his employer, I'm leaving the job. On Thanksgiving Day 1962, he buys an open ticket for Japan. Keep these data, the facts for multiple choice questions. In the exam, teachers ask you from such details, multiple choice questions. And you never read details, so I have seen, out of 10, you get 3, 2, 1 in MCQs because you don't read line by line, right? So he goes to Japan for business. That was a crazy idea. He says, in fact, I'm a crazy person. He says, no turning back. No, I'm not going back home. Food's in the airplane. He talks about what food he got. He lands in Tokyo, drives in hotel. That's a very dingy hotel. That's a hostel. He doesn't like that hotel. He can see impact of American bombing around Tokyo. He goes for 2-3 days. He visits Tokyo city. And he can see all the destruction that America made. It's only 20 years and there is no reconstruction again yet. So arrives at a dingy hostel. There is an old lady who welcomes him. He doesn't like the hostel. He gets a room like a box with a tatami mat. Japanese people, if you've seen on YouTube, they don't have bed. They lie on the ground with a mat. Have you seen Japanese houses? Japanese houses don't have beds like we have, rising beds 2-3 feet. They have ground beds, mat. So he's a table. He slept on a mat, woke up. Hours later, he wakes up and he sees desolation everywhere. Then he meets American guy. His father has given some names. His father said, these are the guys in Tokyo. I know them. They know me. You go and meet them. They will help you. So he meets American guys. Books a clean, decent hotel now. Mentions his crazy idea to the American guys. They are happy, they help. Now he wants to see the city, Tokyo city. He goes around the Tokyo city and he sees various places. He sees Zen masters, Buddhism, right? He says that self does not exist. He's very much, one thing you see, he's very philosophical. He wants to know, he is not only doing business, he's also a philosopher. He goes around the world and in every city, he is interested in spirituality. He is interested in knowledge gaining, right? Then he says that victory comes when we forget self and we forget the opponent. He visits Tokyo Stock Exchange. He wants to meet, he says that I want to make more money in my life. See, look what he says, this line. I wanted my life to be more than money. So he learns pragya, he learns wisdom, he learns understanding, and then visits the garden of Emperor Meiji. Next morning visits Tsukiji, world's largest fish market, takes a bus to Lake region. Then he wants to climb Mount Fuji, goes back to Tokyo, visits Emperor. Then he visits the office of a magazine run by American people. That magazine is about import and export. Then he shares his crazy idea with those American guys. Then he tells them, I want to import tiger shoes and sell them in America. Then he wants to meet Onitsuka people face to face, right? Then he wants to know how to do business with Japanese people. Then finally, he says, I'm not a good negotiator because I could not sell books also. Then he phones Onitsuka and makes an appointment with them. And then he boards a train for the city to go to Onitsuka company. And then he goes there. He sees that Japanese people have very orderly life. They are very clean. He reads about literature, philosophy, clothing, domestic life, minimalism. Minimalism is if you can work with one item, don't use two items. Use minimum items. That's very core idea of Japanese life. He finds that Japanese trains are very dirty, right? He makes 7-hour journey to go to Onitsuka company. Early morning appointment at Onitsuka company. Then he says that if you are confident you can do this before going to the interview, he talks to himself. If I am confident I can do it, it's very necessary. So, being ready psychologically is very necessary. Before going for interview, he talks to himself. He says, Phil, you can do it. So he can do it. You read in Atari in India how Steve Jobs has this idea. If you pretend that you can control, you can control. If you pretend that you can do, you can do. Steve Jobs said. Then he mistakenly goes to Onitsuka showroom. Then he goes to Onitsuka factory for interview. He visits the shoe factory. Everyone bows him down. Japanese people are very famous for this what you call etiquette, greeting, right? They stay 2 feet distance and they bow down. You read in first semester, where do we stand? Then Japanese people think that this 24-year-old man is an American tycoon, billionaire. So he has a lot of money. We can make good business with him. So they respect him. They give him a chair to sit in the conference room. Then the moment of truth has arrived. Because, this is the crisis point. This is the climax in this story. This is where, in the beginning, Phil says that we should treat our life as a game. What does it mean? A second before winning and losing, where you take a decision, that your decision decides whether you win the game or you lose the game. That moment has come. I feel overwhelmed, so excited, right? Most critical moment, do or die. Do or die. I'm in the conference room, do or die. Get the job, get the business, or quit the business. Feels difficult at the moment. That is the crisis moment. That is the peak of the story, this point. Japanese had put the war behind them with their resilience. Past was past. They had forgotten war. Question of winning and losing. Gentleman, I began. He begins. Look how he starts his conference. Gentleman. But before he could finish his sentence, Mr. Miyazaki interrupted. Mr. Knight, what company are you with? Before he can say anything, he gets a question. This is the biggest question. This is the crisis point. This is the climax point of the story. This is the top of the rising action. The heart is throbbing. What's the name of your company? He has no company. Look what he does. Gentlemen, I represent Blue Ribbon Sports of Portland, Oregon. He did not have this company. But read this line here. Yes, good question. Look how he deals. Adrenaline surging through my blood. When adrenaline surges in your blood, you have high blood pressure. You have high blood pressure because you are under a very pressing situation. My blood, I felt the flight response. Should I run away? There's a wonderful novel with the word flight, I remember. Sometimes you should read. Written by Sir Richard Wright. R-I-C-H-A-R-D. Richard, W-R-I-G-H-T. Wright, American black novelist. And the novel's name is The Native Son. Wonderful novel. Please, in life, when you feel like reading something good, read it. Not now, in future. If sometimes you want to pass time and you want to read some good writing, read this. In the world, there are supreme pieces of writing, like diamond. Read dozen of them. They will change your life. They will change your life in a positive way. I just remembered with the word flight because in that novel there are 3 chapters. Fear, flight, fight. The hero goes through these 3 stages. First chapter, he has fear. Second chapter, he wants to run away from the problem. Third, he will fight with the problem. It's very inspiring novel. Okay. Do you know about Richard Wright? He learned ABCD at the age of 20. He was a sweeper in a bank. Richard Wright, black fellow, used to clean the bank floor. And he could not read and write. At 20, he learned ABCD. How? By stealing books, because blacks were not allowed to read and write in America. And he became a famous writer. Such an inspiring author. An inspiring writing. Okay, move ahead. So, he wants to run away. The longing to run and hide, which made me think of the safest place in the world, my parents' house. He felt like running back to home and then embracing parent to be safe. The house had been built decades before. Leave that, I won't go in detail. I will simply showing this is the point between winning and losing. The point, winning and losing. Now, so he wins because he tells my company name is, now let me read this whole paragraph because it will make you understand something. Read this whole paragraph. This one. The house had been built decades before by people of means, people with much more money than my parents, and thus the architect had included servants' quarters at the back of the house, and these quarters were my bedroom. Look, he was 24. He had done high school. He was not supposed to live in parents' house. So he was given a room in the servant's house. See the culture. Once you pass high school, you must earn money, you must pay rent, live on your own, not with the parents and parents' money, which I had filled with baseball cards, record albums, posters, books, all things holy. I'd also covered one wall with my blue ribbons. Maybe the blue ribbons were the ribbons he had won in the game. From track, blue ribbons, maybe when you go for running, he tells that I'm an athlete, but not great athlete. The one thing in my life of which I was unabashedly proud. I was proud of my blue ribbons because I had won them. So I decided to keep my company name with blue ribbons. And so, blue ribbon, I blurted, gentlemen, I represent Blue Ribbon Sports of Portland, Oregon. He didn't have a company. He told a lie. But that was the point to win. That was the moment, a decision he took, right? And he established the company. That was the company. Now move ahead. Now they thought that the Onizuka should penetrate this American market. So he was quoting from his presentation. Now these executives were very much impressed by his presentation, right? Now he thinks, did they reject? Now they went out. They said, wait a minute, we'll go in another room, we'll discuss what to do with your proposal. And this was the moment. Will they reject me? Will they accept me? Will they reject me? Will they accept me? They come back. They returned with samples. They showed models of tiger shoe, lot of questions. Would Blue Ribbon be interested in representing tiger shoes? They say, will you please represent our shoes in America? I choose the Limber Up brand, asked them to ship samples right away, gave my address, promised to send them a money order for $50. They bowed deeply. We were partners now, Onizuka and me. Goes to American Express office and sends letter to father. Strange things are happening. Back in my hotel, feels homesick, is still aflame with curiosity about the world. Curiosity 1 goes Hong Kong. Now this is the point from where the falling action starts. Let me tell you very clearly. Please understand. This is the top of rising action. Once they bow with the samples, it is finalized, deal is done, right? Now from here the action falls down. I told you this line. So this is the moment, right? Then, now look, from this point you will see that up to here is always agitated, always excited. His blood pressure is always high, up to here. From here, his blood pressure goes down and he is relaxed. Now look here, how is he relaxed? Look here, also the line. He goes to American's office, sends a letter to father, says please send $50 order. Back in hotel, read this line. I walked in circles around my tatami mat. Now look how relaxed he is. I walked in circles around my tatami mat trying to decide what to do. Shall I go home or not? Part of me wanted to race back to Oregon, wait for those samples and get a jump on my new business venture. Also, I was crazed with loneliness, cut off from everything and everyone I knew. The occasional sight of a New York Times or a Time magazine gave me a lump in my throat. I was a castaway, a kind of, look, what is a castaway? Look, Phil Knight. He gave up all the friends. He gave up his village, town, people, relatives, nobody. He left everyone. He chased one thing. He chased his crazy idea. Can you give up your bloody mobile phone? Throw it away and say, from today, I won't look at my mobile phone. I have this my crazy idea and I'll follow my idea. Your mobile phone is your biggest enemy destroying you. But you cannot. Look him. He says, I was a castaway. What is a castaway? Who has left everyone, everything, and who is running after his life goal. मान्छे त्यसै नाइकीको मालिक हुँदैन नि. पहिले पनि मोबाइल चलाएर सर्ट्स रिल हेरेर बसेर नाइकी कम्पनी बन्थ्यो? बन्ने थिएन. Right? So what is the lesson to learn? If you want to be successful, overcome all distractions in life. And your mobile phones are your biggest distractions. They consume, actually, हिसाब गरेर हेर्नुस् न, तपाईं घरमा एक्चुअली कलम लिएर 24 घण्टामा कतिवटा मोबाइलमा जान्छ तपाईको? हिसाबै गर्नुस् न. That's a valuable life time. तपाईं केलाई दिइराख्नु भएको छ? र कति मिनेट तपाईले आफ्नो गोल बारे सोच्नु भएको छ? Think seriously. What is your goal? Where have you written it? What are you doing to achieve the goal? That's the question. Then look how inspiring. Modern Crusoe. What is this? Crusoe is, there is a hero Robinson Crusoe. In a novel with this name, there's a novel written by Daniel Defoe. And in this novel, the hero is a young boy who doesn't listen to his father. भनेकै मान्दैन बाउले, फिटिक्कै मान्दैन. अनि अट्टरी गरेर एक दिन चाहिँ लुकेर अर्को जहाजमा चढ्छ, पानी जहाजमा लुकेर. जहाजलाई पनि थाहा हुँदैन को चढ्यो भनेर. ठुलो जहाजमा. And the ship meets with an accident in the middle ocean. The ship sinks and he is thrown in an island. An island where there is no other human being. He is alone. And he spends decades and he creates his own world. That's the point to understand. He doesn't commit suicide. He doesn't die. He makes his house there. He gathers food and he creates his world. And what do we learn? के शिक्षा हामी यहाँबाट त्यो उपन्यास पढेर? We should be alone, struggling in life, and we should create our own empire. We should not depend on an empire created by our parents. बाउले के भने हुन्छ? I have a business, do it भन्छ फादरले. उसले के भन्छ? No, I won't do your business. म तपाईँ बिजनेस किन गरेर म आफै गर्छु भन्छ. He is so adventurous. A wonderful novel to read. कहिले कुनै गतिलो कुरा पढ्न मन लाग्यो भने खोजेर पढ्नु होला. I told you 2 novels today in this class. They are world famous writings. Move ahead. Now in this story. So back in my hotel, feels homesick now, is still aflame with curiosity about the world. This idea. Curiosity 1 says, no, I won't go home. Goes to Hong Kong first. Now he goes to Hong Kong. Look, now his tour starts. From Hong Kong, he visits Victoria Park. Then he goes to Philippines. Then he goes to Manila. Then he goes to Bangkok. Then he goes to Vietnam. Then he goes to India, Varanasi. Then he reads Upanishads in India. He comes to Kathmandu. He comes to Indrachok. He goes to Himalayas, Pokhara. He notices, and wherever he goes, he does one thing. Wherever he goes, he notices people's shoes around the world. Remember, he notices their shoes. He goes around the world and he looks very carefully what brand shoes they are wearing. Now, back to India, New Year Eve, Bombay. He is back to India. Kenya. He looks at ostriches. Maasai warriors. He goes to Maasai, what do you call that? What is that? Maasai Mara? Savannah fields. He goes to Cairo, Egypt. He goes to Jerusalem, Israel. He goes to Istanbul, Turkey. He goes to Rome, Italy. He goes to Florence, Italy. He goes to Milan, Italy. He goes to Venice. Now time is running out. And he goes to Munich, Germany. He goes to Vienna, Austria. He goes to London, UK. He goes to Acropolis, Athens. He goes to Parthenon. Now in Athens, it's important because how does he get the name Nike for his company? Read this line. On my left was the Parthenon temple in Athens, which Plato had was the teams of architects and workmen built. On my right was the temple of Athena. In Athens, he visits the temple of Athena, goddess Athena. Athena Nike, her full name. Athena Nike was Athens' patron goddess. Like in Kathmandu, they have 4 Narayan. They have Changu Narayan, they have Ichangu Narayan, they have Shesh Narayan in Dakshin Kali, and they have Bishankhu Narayan. The 4 Narayans are located in 4 directions, and they were made to protect Kathmandu city long ago. In the same way, there is patron goddess. Her name is Athena Nike, and she is goddess of victory. I'll read line. 25 centuries ago, per my guidebook, it had housed a beautiful frieze of goddess Athena, thought to be the bringer of Nike, the victory. It was one of many blessings Athena bestowed. She also rewarded the deal makers in the Orestia. She says, I admire the eyes of persuasion. This unit 1, the theme of unit 1 is business storytelling and persuasion. Persuasion, she was in a sense the patron saint of negotiation. Then go down. He writes, I don't know how long after that day I discovered the Aristophanes play. Didn't leave that. Okay. So I was simply showing you where and how he gets the name for his company. Then he comes, now it's his 25th birthday. It's 25th birthday. He is back home. He left home in 1962. He left home in 1962. He comes back after 1 year, 1963, on his birthday. My 25th birthday. He was 24 when he left home. For 1 year, went around the world. At 25, he came back home. And when he came back home, he had a company. Blue Ribbon Shoe Company. My 25th birthday, I walked through the door on Claiborne Street, hair to my shoulders, long, because for 1 year he had not trimmed his hair. Beard 3 inches long. My mother let out a cry. My sisters blinked as if they did not recognize me, or else hadn't realized I had been gone. Hugs, shouts, bursts of laughter. My mother made me sit, poured me a cup of coffee. She wanted to hear everything, but I was exhausted. I set my suitcase and backpack in the hall and went to my room. I stared blearily at my blue ribbons in the room. Mr. Knight, what is the name of your company? Miyazaki had asked in Japan. I curled up. See the falling action. This is the first time in the story where he is relaxed. I curled up on the bed and sleep came down like the curtain. Before this, he never slept. You don't have any single line where you will see him sleeping. He slept, I know, but we never read about his sleeping. This is the first time he said, at La Scala, and an hour later, I woke to my mother's calling out dinner. My father was home from work and he embraced me as I came into the dining room. He too wanted to hear every detail and I wanted to tell him. But first I wanted to know one thing. Dad, I said, did my shoes come? Still he is willing to know whether the shoes have come or whether his company is there. This is where the story ends. पढ्नु भएन मैले भने सुन्नुभयो कतिजनाले पढ्नु भएको थियो लाइन बाई लाइन 40 पेज मैले अहिले यो पछिल्लो हप्ता 3 चोटि पढेँ लास्ट विक किन मैले त पढाउनु पर्यो नि त तर मैले पढ्नु पर्यो तपाईले किन पढ्ने हैन मैले त पढाउनु छ नि त मलाई आएन भने त बेइज्जत हुन्छ त्यही भएर मैले पढ्नु पर्यो तपाईले पढ्ने हैन है नपढ्ने राइट ओके नाउ your job. Prepare plot summary of this chapter, second, 1962. र के गर्नुस् pick up verbs only. Pick up verbs and prepare a summary like this one. Prepare a summary of this chapter like this one. Well, can you see? Look my summary. Look my summary of Attarian India. We have 10 minutes time. Job return. So I focus on action. My focus in plot summary, I focus on action, activity. What is happening? Job returns home. That's one sentence or important part. I gave 2 hyphens. Looks for job. That's important. I should not miss this idea. Walks into lobby of video game manufacturer Atari. Tells he won't return without getting a job. Now, in the next paragraph, there is slight digression. The writer introduces Bushnell, Nolan Bushnell, the director, and Al Alcorn, chief engineer. Job arrives at the lobby, meets Alcorn, joins Atari as a technician for $5 per hour. Alcorn assigns jobs to another engineer, Dong Lang. Lang complains that this is a hippie guy, I can't work with him, his body stinks. Body smell. Lang and others want Steve to leave the company. Bushnell works out a solution. He asks Jobs that you work at night. Don't work with them. They will work in the day, you work at night, you work alone. Jobs becomes known for his brassness. Jobs by nature is very kind of rude. Jobs charms his boss by his work. Jobs helps improve some of the games at Atari. He becomes friends with Ron Wayne. You know, Ron Wayne is the only guy who later tells Jobs that, he says, Jobs, I have something to tell you. And Jobs says, I know, you like men. He is a gay in the company. Jobs proposes Wayne to get into business. Then Wayne says, no, I had a business, I lost $50,000, I can't invest again. Right? Jobs visits Wayne, engages in philosophical discussions, learns that Wayne is a gay. That is the introduction part. Look what I did. Now I can read this within 5 minutes in exam. I know it because I made it. It's contra to me. It's by heart. Because I prepared it. I didn't go to ChatGPT or Gemini or Google or any internet. I spent hours. 10 hours, 15 hours, 2 days, 3 days preparing such notes. Now move to next section, India. Robert Friedland urges Jobs to visit India. He says, go to India. Jobs wants to make some money for his trip to go to India. Jobs recruits Daniel Kotke to go to India with him. Jobs is turned on to the idea of enlightenment. This is a very important point because you know, Steve Jobs was born outside marriage from the sex between a university student and another. There are two students who had sex. He was conceived and he was born. So they didn't want to keep him because they were not married. So they left him they gave him up for adoption. Another couple adopted Steve Jobs. So his parents were foster parents. They were not biological parents. And nobody knew who biological parents were. And this fact pained Steve Jobs a lot. He was never comfortable because he could not understand why mom and dad gave me up. He wanted to meet them and ask them, Mom, why did you leave me? Why did you give me on for adoption? Right? Then he tries to figure out how to get money. So then, read this point here. Jobs tells folks at Atari that he is leaving. He wants Alcorn to help him with some money. Alcorn says that, okay, he gives a proposal. What proposal? If you can help me fix a problem in my video games, then you will get some money. Jobs goes to Germany with the video games. Then in Germany, he spends few days solving the problem and he gets some money. The German engineers complain, oh, don't send such a guy. He stinks, body odor. Steve Jobs is not an easy person. His body has a very difficult smell and his habit is very rude and it's not easy to work with him. Then they come and Jobs also complains. He says, these guys are not vegetarian. They tried to feed me meat. Steve Jobs is a vegan, right? Then he takes a train to see in Turin. He goes to Turin. Then finally he goes to Lugano, Switzerland. Then he takes a flight to India. He gets up at Delhi airport and it's very hot temperature there. He goes to a hotel that is full. He goes to another hotel, recommended by the taxi driver. He asks owner if the water is filtered. He says yes, he believes, drinks the water. Water is not filtered. He gets diarrhea. And from 160 pounds, within a week he becomes 120 pounds. He falls sick. Then he says, no, I shouldn't stay in Delhi. From Delhi, he goes to Haridwar, right, where he attends Kumbh Mela. And then he gets out of there. He takes a train and goes to a village in Nainital, where Neem Karoli Baba lives. Neem Karoli Baba is a spiritual figure, dead now. And then he rents a room in the village with a mattress on the floor. The family feeds him vegetarian food, and he finds a copy of Autobiography of a Yogi. Have you read? I read it long ago. I bought 4 copies. One Hindi, one English, one Nepali, one extra copy for my mother. It's a wonderful book. People believe, not believe. This is the autobiography of Swami Yogananda. He reads, he walks around the village there to pass his time. He meets Larry Brilliant, who is an epidemiologist in Nainital. He becomes his lifelong friend. He comes to learn about young Hindu holy man. He gets a chance to have a good meal there, right? The holy man picks him up and he takes him to the mountain top. And what he does, he takes a soap and water, and then he washes his hair and he shaves his hair. Now he looks like a monk. Now Steve Jobs looks like a monk, right? Then, okay, yes, he does not. He shaves his hair. Then where were we? He shaves. Then Daniel Kotke arrives in India. Jobs goes back to Delhi to receive Daniel Kotke, right? He still seeks enlightenment through ascetics. What is asceticism? Asceticism is avoiding spicy food, avoiding meat, avoiding drink, avoiding material pleasures. He lives simple life, does not achieve inner calm. Why Steve Jobs does not achieve inner calm? Because his question is, who I am? Who is my father? Who is my mother? Why did they discard me? Shouts a match with a woman watering down a milk. He sees a woman selling milk to him and she's putting water in the milk. And he shouts at her. Kotke loses his money because somebody steals his money. Jobs is very helpful. He pays for his food. He pays for his travel. He gives $100 to him, right? And then he finally returns back to Los Altos with shaved head, wearing Indian cotton robes. And at the airport makes a call to his home. Here is somebody with your address, please come and receive him. He is not in normal situation. And when his mother and father, the foster mother and father, not biological, they come to receive at the airport, they can't recognize him. Because his hair is shaved and he is wearing, this yogi kind of dress. What color do you call it? What color do you call it? I don't know the English word for that. Okay. Hardly recognizes him at the airport. They take him back home. He continuously tries to find himself. Listen to this question. Who I am. Pursues enlightenment, meditates, studies Zen, audits physics for money at Stanford. Then you have the next section, the search. This is a more serious section because here Steve Jobs is searching. Searching what? Searching himself. Searching himself. So follows many precepts of Eastern religion like Pragya, reflects on lasting influence of his trip to India, where he spent 7 months, has a cultural shock coming back to America, praises intuition, Indian culture intuition, compares Indian culture with Western culture. He appreciates power of intuition. He sees the craziness of Western world. He says that Zen has been a deep influence on his life. Finds a Zen teacher, Shunryu Suzuki, in America, and regularly attends her programs, becomes a faithful follower of Zen, learns how to tune distractions, meditation. He starts meditation. He searches for self-awareness, undergoes primal scream therapy. Primal scream therapy is last time in my neighborhood here in Balaju, they did. They collected all women and primal is, hey! They will start. And they will cry. They will cry. They will say, okay, cry. Shout. What is the theory? This is a psychological theory. When you cry and you weep, tears come, then you recall your previous pain. And once you do this, it is healed, right? Then he learns about so he searches for his awareness, undergoes primal therapy, signs up for 12-week course in therapy, tells friends that he was driven by pain, he was feeling about being put up for adoption. Very painful. He says, how my fathers put me for adoption? Was I a dog? You only put dogs for adoption. You don't put human children. Not knowing about his birth parents, he wanted to know who my biological parents are, had profound desire to know his physical parents so he could better know himself. learns about his biological parents from his foster parents. He struggles with the fact that he had been adopted. Does a lot of soul searching. Who I am. The central question in this story that creates conflict is who I am. About being adopted, tries to clean himself with the primal scream and mucusless diet, gets deeper into his frustration about his birth, often plays the song, Mama, don't go, Daddy, come home. This was the song that Beatles sang. I forgot the name. His mother was a singer, one of the Beatles. His mother was murdered, his father left him, and then he sang this song. Mama, come home, Mama, don't go, Daddy, come. And he listens this song because he's missing his biological parents. We stop here for today. And assignment, you make such notes for the previous story, 1962, and bring in class tomorrow. And tomorrow, if you make excuses, I'll grab you by the neck, pull you through the aisle, and throw you out of class. If you made excuses. Today I excused you. No excuses tomorrow. Thank you.